everybody, welcome back to the channel. So, what I hold here in my hands is the future of car audio.
Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also in the description there will be a link to where you can pick up this amp.
No joke. So, like it, hate it, be scared of it, love it. You know, this is where car audio is heading. And I know there's been a ton of videos done on this amplifier already. So if you want to see what the power is, go look at Big D's video. You know, if you want to see some fluffy things or some guys did, if you want to learn how to flip over the case, watch that video. But we're going to do what nobody else has done. Let's listen to it in a vehicle. You know what? Let's compare it to, something, a little bit more conventional, considered, high end, and see if this is really a worthy candidate to move forward with in the future. This seems to be the future. So you know what? Let's check it out.
Let me know in the comments, how do you think this test is going to go? Is this really the future of car audio?
Your eyes are not misleading you. Okay, so in this test, I've been running this Alpine amplifier on my high frequencies for several years now. Okay, this is a 1997. This is a very high-end, very good quality, amazing amp, one of my favorites that I own. I do have a bigger version of it, but this one comes in at 50 watts a channel. Okay, and it does very well. Been very, very pleased with it. I have run other amps in there. This is one of my favorite that I own. So this thing's got some high standards to hold up to if it's going to impress me. So let's go over what this Fosi amp is all about. So this amp is very compact. Okay, we're talking, a little over 7 inches by a little under 4 inches, and it's under 2 inches tall. And it isn't light. It's got some heft to it. So anyways, the ratings on this thing are far more significant than this. This thing is twice the power as this Alpine. Okay, this thing is 100 by 4 at 4 ohms, 160 by 4 at 2 ohms, and I think bridged it's like 320 watts by 2. And again, I don't need to dyno this thing. It's been dynoed, and most modern stuff, unless there's some sort of crap brand, you know what? They're gonna rate these things right. And Fosi Audio, they're a legit company. Okay, they're not going to deceive you or whatever. You know what? I trust their numbers, and plus Derek's tested this thing. So, and again, we got a THD of 0.008. This one's 0.05. Okay, and you go, oh wow. Well, you know what? Sometimes our ears are going to be the best judgment of how something sounds. Okay, some people like to see numbers and whatever, but in this test we're going to use our ears. Okay, because that's what you're going to use every time you listen to your amplifier in your vehicle. Okay, so one of the things that we notice, this is an old school class AB amplifier. Okay, this is a new modern class D using basically an integrated chipset. Okay, and that chip is an IR4322. Okay, and so which is cool about this chipset is it does a lot of things that takes up a lot of circuitry and components in this amplifier. Okay, and so which allows this to be much more compact, a lot cheaper and easier to make, because now we have the technology to build these small chips that do a whole lot. So that's pretty cool. That's the new technology. That's what makes this so significant and makes this an old dinosaur. But we want to find out, does this new school, does it even touch this old school? Okay, so we're going to install this in the vehicle that I've been listening to this thing for several years, and I'm going to give you my opinion. We're going to do some sound demos. You can kind of hear it for yourself, what this amp sounds like, and we'll see if it's good or not, because I don't know. I'm excited about this, and You know, I just watched all those other videos on this, and nobody tested this thing in the vehicle. So let's do it. All right, so you're gonna need to excuse the installation, but anyways, this used to be where the massive Alpine resided. As you can see, we've got the Fosi audio wired in here, got sufficient power to it. So we're gonna hook this thing up, gonna demo it, see if this new technology is worth it. All right, so we got the amplifier all hooked up in the truck, and I've been listening to it for several days now, okay? And initially I was listening to everything streaming through Bluetooth, which is my normal, you know, way that I listen to music for the most part in the vehicle. Every once in a while, this thing still runs CDs. So I go to my go-to CDs that I listen to a lot of Rush. And this Elton John CD, The Greatest Hits, is really musically recorded. Songs are just great, you know, good mixture of everything. So those are two of my really go-to CDs that I play. One of the things that I did notice initially off was the significant difference in sound quality between the Bluetooth and the CD was much more evident on this chip amplifier versus a classic AB old school type amplifier, okay? So it seemed to be a little bit more sensitive to it. And when I switched to CD, it was a bit better, okay? And then when I switched to what we got here is our copyright-free music on CD, I noticed that it was significantly better, okay? So what I'm finding is with these newer technology digital amplifiers, in my opinion, I feel like they reproduce digital recorded audio better than they do old analog recordings. And I'm going to tell you that first, on the Bluetooth, I wasn't overwhelmingly impressed with the sound quality. And then going to these CDs and knowing these songs and knowing my system and knowing how it's tuned and how it plays, I still was just very underwhelmed. Okay, like I'm like, you know, I get this amp's not very expensive, but I wasn't very excited about it. So I'm gonna tell you something here. One of the things that we've got here on my system here is different presets and different things. And so one of the things that I've noticed with this chip amplifier and the Class D amplifiers that I have played in here is the high frequency tones that come out of this amplifier are very magnified. You know, the Class ABs, if you look at, here's my EQ setting here, I've got a little bit of a bump here, and a little bit of a dip here. But if you look at I've got a little bit of a cut at the, I'm gonna say, what is that? 10K and 16K. And I found that it helped. What I was getting was a lot of not hissing or anything, just maybe just too much of the very high frequencies. And was not super sonically, it just really bothered me. It was very, very painful to listen to at volumes and whatnot. So to cut those helped. Okay, so one thing that I will say that I have noticed is just volume wise. And it may be because this Alpine unit is only really putting out, which I'm really surprised that it's only putting out like 4 volts output. And so I've got the gains really turned up quite high on the amplifier to match the volume levels of the AB amplifier. And despite this being twice as much power, I don't really notice much output difference, if any. So, you know, that's debatable, the class AB versus D, just the dynamic ability of sound output. So, but one thing I will say is most modern class D amplifiers, when you have a head unit that's not putting out like 5, 6, 7, 8 volts, a lot of times you have to bump the gain up, and when you turn the gain up, man, those things just hiss. Like when you are in between songs or what, you can really hear a lot of floor noise in it. The MTX amps in the Riviera project were an example of that. I really had to get an input signal of very high voltage to even make it acceptable. And this Fosi amp, I don't see that. I don't hear the noise. Even at high volumes, when it gets quiet, I'm not hearing noise, which I think is great. Okay, so let's demo some songs and let's hear this thing. So what do you guys think? You guys interested in picking one of these up? I'll tell you what, I got a link in here, and it does help out the channel. I'm not really big on affiliate links. I've turned down a lot of offers to do that, but I'm curious, okay? I want to know how many of you people are interested in this amp, and I want to know what your opinion is. So I want you to follow us on Facebook, okay?
So go over to our Facebook page, check it out, leave some comments on this thread.
Okay, and we're gonna do a thread on this on there, and I want you guys to test these things out. They're not very expensive, and I think it's something that you might want to experience for yourself, get your opinion on it. Okay, because like I said, this is the future of car audio, and this is, you know, technology that hasn't been really used and utilized all that long. So I think it's gonna get better. So I want to hear from you guys. Is this something that you guys want to try out? You know, and Fosi Audio, you know, they're very big in the home audio stuff, and I think you're going to see more and more stuff from them. I have no idea what they have in the pipeline, but so pick one of those things up, okay, and use our link on there. Like I said, it helps us out. I appreciate that. I'm not trying to peddle this thing or anything, but I am curious to know your thoughts on these after you've tested it, okay? But I want to hear from you guys that have tested it, have used older equipment, higher end stuff. Let me know how it compares, okay? Again, go to our Facebook page, leave some comments, check it out. You know, let me know your experience on this, and you know, let's see where this takes it. You know, car audio has been a little stagnant for a long time, and you know, I think that this could breathe some new life into it. We know that newer vehicles, you know, are a lot more difficult to integrate systems into. And you know, while this is 4 channels, well, why can't we have a 10 or 12 channel version of this thing? And you know, you can do your whole system with a DSP and integration and whatnot. You know, time will tell on the quality of these things, how long they're going to last. Again, I've got a room full of, you know, amps that are 25, 30, 35 years old that are still magically alive. You know, of course, they've probably been sitting in somebody's garage or closet or, you know, somewhere for a lot of times. But I'm serious. I do want to know what you guys think. Okay. So anyways, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time.